Have you ever been sitting next to someone and still felt completely alone, as if their body was present, but their heart and mind were miles away? That quiet emptiness is more common than we think. In a world wired for noise and distraction, true presence has become a rare kind of intimacy. We scroll through life, half looking, half listening, and sometimes, even with those we love, we're just not there. The song Wish You Were Here by Pink Floyd captures this ache perfectly. Not just longing for someone to be physically near, but for them to be truly present. And that, in Buddhist wisdom, is the heart of all real connection. True presence doesn't come from trying harder. It begins when we stop performing and start being. When we put down the mental script, the rehearsed responses, the assumptions, the inner noise, and actually meet life with open attention. Buddhist teachings invite us to pause, to return not to someone else, but to ourselves, because we cannot truly connect with another until we've returned to the quiet presence within us. Only then do we become spacious enough to hold another, with no judgment, no fixing, just attention. Letting go in this practice is not about losing someone. It's about releasing the filters that keep us from seeing them clearly. When we let go of expectations, projections, and past hurts, we begin to meet each other again, for the first time. That's where real connection lives, and maybe, just maybe, that's all anyone is really asking. Don't just be here. Be with me. Let's begin today's video with a gentle reminder, a song soft and haunting that whispers straight to the soul. How I wish you were here. These words from Pink Floyd's Wish You Were Here were written for their former bandmate, Syd Barrett, but the song speaks to something far beyond personal loss. It taps into a deeply human ache, the loneliness we feel even when surrounded by others. This is where Wish You Were Here becomes more than just a song. It becomes a meditation. It quietly invites us to ask, am I truly living or just performing life? Are we showing up with our whole selves or only the version we think others want to see? In Buddhist thought, the longing for connection isn't weakness. It's the first spark of awakening. It's the moment we recognize that presence is more than proximity, that someone can sit beside us yet feel galaxies away. Because true presence isn't about the body, it's about the heart. This song becomes a mirror. It reflects back the ways we become absent in our own lives, distracted, fragmented, disconnected from others, and even more so from ourselves. But meditation, just like this song, can lead us home. Back to a presence that isn't rushed, back to a self that isn't divided, back to relationships that feel real instead of rehearsed. So the real question is not just, who do you wish were here? It's, are you truly here? But even when we long to be fully present, something keeps pulling us away. We sit across from a loved one, but our mind drifts to to-do lists, to regrets, to glowing screens in our hands. And so, even in the same room, we begin to feel miles apart. That's where we enter a deeper truth, the growing distance within our closeness. It's strange, isn't it? How we can sit just inches away from someone and still feel 1,000 miles apart. You're at dinner, nodding along, smiling politely, but inside your mind is somewhere else. Maybe theirs is too. There's a conversation happening, but not between hearts. In today's world, we're constantly surrounded, yet quietly starving for real connection. We check our phones mid-sentence. We think about what to say next rather than listening. We carry unresolved emotions from the past into every present moment, and so we begin to lose something precious, the art of truly being with one another. Buddhism doesn't condemn this. It simply points to the root. Disconnection begins when presence ends. When we're not present, we don't see the other as they are. We see a version shaped by our own distractions, judgments, or expectations, and they in turn feel unseen. This is how isolation is born, not from distance, but from the absence of presence. Thich Nhat Hanh once said, "The most precious gift you can offer someone is your true presence. Not advice, not solutions, just attention. Just showing up with your whole self, without the noise. When you listen deeply, not to respond, but to understand. When you hold someone's gaze without rushing to fill silence, something profound happens. You return to each other. You dissolve the invisible walls built by habit, fear, and distraction. True presence is not a passive state. It's a choice, a daily practice. It means putting down your phone, releasing the urge to fix or explain, and simply letting the moment unfold as it is. In a world where we're trained to multitask everything, even love, this might feel unnatural at first, but with each mindful breath, with each sacred pause, we rebuild the bridge between us, one silent, present heartbeat at a time. And then, as we slowly begin to relearn how to be truly present, listening with the heart, seeing with mindful attention, we start to notice a third presence quietly intruding into every encounter, the phone in our hand. We're not lonely because no one is around. We're lonely because in the moments that call for deep connection, too many things are competing for our attention. And this brings us face to face with one of the greatest modern challenges to true presence: technology and distraction. Technology was meant to bring us closer, but in many ways it has pulled us further away. Have you ever caught yourself checking your phone while someone was pouring their heart out? Or scrolling through endless content while a loved one sat silently beside you? We live in a world that rewards distraction. Every like, every ping, every new notification is a hit of dopamine, a tiny thrill that tricks the brain into thinking it's connecting, when in fact, it's disconnecting us from the moment right in front of us. We are no longer just living. We are performing, curating a life for others to see, rather than living one we actually feel. And in that performance, something essential gets lost: the simplicity of presence, of really being here. Buddhist wisdom reminds us that suffering is not caused by the thing itself, but by the mind's clinging, craving, and restlessness. The issue isn't technology, it's the way we use it without mindfulness. We don't pick up our phones out of need, but out of habit, anxiety, or the illusion that we're missing something. Ironically, what we're missing is the very moment we're living. The signs are subtle but profound: a constant sense of restlessness, fragmented attention, emotional numbness, a growing inability to sit still in silence. We've traded inner calm for stimulation, and it's costing us the depth of real connection. So what's the way out? Not withdrawal, not rejection, but conscious usage. Create sacred pauses. Set boundaries, not just with people, but with screens. Establish technology-free spaces, especially during meals, before sleep, or in intimate conversations. Let there be moments where nothing beeps, buzzes, or glows, only your breath, your presence, and the person in front of you. Meditation, even for 5 minutes a day, is one of the most powerful antidotes. In those 5 minutes, we practice reclaiming our attention. We retrain the mind to be where the body is. We learn that silence is not empty. It's full of awareness. When used with wisdom, technology can be a bridge. But when left unchecked, it becomes a wall. So ask yourself gently, am I here or am I elsewhere? That one question, asked often enough, can lead us home. But once we start seeing the noise for what it is, the next question arises: how do we come back? How do we return to a life that feels whole, vivid, and real, without having to escape the modern world? That path begins not with withdrawal, but with awareness. And at the very heart of awareness is a quiet power that Buddhist teachings have pointed to for centuries: mindfulness. Mindfulness in Buddhist philosophy is not a luxury. It's not something we do only on meditation cushions or retreats. It is the sacred thread that brings us back to the heartbeat of life, again and again. To be mindful is to come home to this breath, this step, this conversation. It is the art of fully arriving in the only moment that ever truly exists: now. Without mindfulness, we fall into automatic living. We eat without tasting, listen without hearing, speak without meaning, and slowly we begin to feel hollow, surrounded by stimulation, but starved for presence. But when mindfulness enters, the ordinary becomes luminous. A sip of tea becomes a ceremony. A shared glance becomes a doorway to intimacy. Even silence, when met with awareness, becomes a sacred place of belonging. The Buddha taught that suffering often begins when we forget to be here. We lose ourselves in craving, distraction, comparison. But presence is the antidote. Presence doesn't demand we fix everything. It simply asks us to see clearly, to return to what is real. Try this. The next time you speak with someone, put down your phone, breathe, look into their eyes, feel your feet on the ground. Listen, not just to their words, but to what's beneath the words. That's mindfulness. And that's love in action. Real connection doesn't come from having the right answers. It comes from offering our undivided presence, from saying, even without words, I'm here with you, fully. Modern life pulls us in 1,000 directions, but mindfulness gently gathers us back into one place, one body, one moment. And from that moment, everything changes. We soften, we open, we connect. Not just with others, but with ourselves, with life, with something deeper than words. In a distracted world, mindfulness is a radical act of devotion. It is how we remember that nothing is too small to matter, and no one is too busy to pause and be here. But mindfulness is not just a beautiful idea, it's a way of living that must be practiced, moment by moment. So the real question becomes, how do we live it? How do we bring this deep presence into the chaos of daily life? That's where the power of simple Buddhist practices comes in. Gentle, grounded rituals that quietly anchor us back to the now. The truth is, presence doesn't happen by accident. It must be practiced. Like a seed, it needs daily tending. And the Buddhist path offers us a garden of quiet rituals, each one a doorway back to the here and now. Start with the breath, not forced or manipulated, but simply observed. With every inhale, we arrive. With every exhale, we let go. This is mindful breathing, not to change what is, but to be fully with it. In the chaos of modern life, just 2 minutes of conscious breathing can feel like coming home. Then there is deep listening, not listening to reply, but listening to understand. When you truly listen, without judgment, without interruption, you offer someone a rare gift, your presence. In that space, healing can begin. Walking meditation is another simple but profound practice. You don't need a mountain or a temple, just your steps. Each footfall becomes an anchor, each breath a bell. No need to rush. Life is not a race, it is a rhythm. Loving kindness meditation, or metta, teaches us to open the heart. You silently offer phrases like, may I be safe, may you be well. At first it may feel awkward, but with time it softens your inner world and helps you meet others with compassion, not defense. Even the smallest acts, washing dishes, lighting incense, bowing gently, can become forms of meditation when done with awareness. These are not chores, they are reminders. I am here. In a distracted world, these practices are revolutionary. They ask nothing but your attention, and in return, they give you back your life. The beauty of Buddhist practice is that it doesn't ask us to escape life, but to fully return to it. It doesn't demand silence in a temple, but awareness in the middle of doing dishes or walking to work. Every practice we explored, mindful breathing, deep listening, loving kindness, teaches us to wake up moment by moment. But the real test is not on the cushion, it's in the ordinary, unspectacular hours of daily life. And that's where the deepest transformation begins, when presence becomes a choice, not just a practice. This brings us into a powerful realization. Presence is not accidental, it's a daily decision. And so we enter the next part of this journey, practicing presence in everyday life. True presence doesn't happen by accident. It's an act of devotion, not to a temple or tradition, but to the moment in front of you. In a fast-paced world, presence is revolutionary, and it doesn't require silence or stillness. It simply asks for sincerity. Think about how often we show up with only part of ourselves. We're there, but thinking of the next task. We smile, but our mind is replaying an argument from last week. We listen, but only with half an ear. That's not presence, it's performance. And performance, no matter how polished, cannot connect us deeply to others or to ourselves. Buddhist wisdom teaches that presence is not a mood or a skill. It's a return to what's already here. The warmth of your own breath, the texture of your hands, the flicker in someone's eyes when you really see them. We don't need to invent anything new. We only need to stop leaving. Everyday actions hold sacred potential. Wiping your hands after washing, standing still before crossing the street, even sipping your morning tea, they're all invitations. You don't have to do more. You only have to do it with your whole self. Try this. The next time you speak with someone, pause before answering. Breathe. Feel your feet. Look into their eyes, not to analyze or respond, but just to witness. That pause, that breath, is presence. And in that tiny space, something profound begins to shift. Judgment softens. Defensiveness drops. You meet life as it is. Being present doesn't mean you have to like everything. It doesn't mean denying pain or pretending to be calm. It means being honest enough to stay, with discomfort, with joy, with whatever this moment holds. That's where freedom lives, not in escaping your life, but in showing up for it fully. So many of us feel invisible, disconnected, not because we are alone, but because we're not truly present for ourselves or each other. We long to be seen, but forget to offer the gift of seeing. Presence is that gift. It's how we remind someone, you matter, I'm here. This isn't about spiritual perfection. You'll get distracted. You'll forget. That's okay. The practice is not about never drifting. It's about noticing when you do and gently coming back, again and again. Each return is a kind of awakening. You don't have to go on retreat to find this. Presence is already available in your ordinary life. When you wash a dish, feel the water. When you open a door, notice the coolness of the handle. When you lie down to rest, feel the weight of your body being held. Presence dissolves the illusion of separation. It doesn't fix the world, but it changes how we live in it. And that often is enough. Although presence can begin with a single breath, a mindful gaze, or a quiet step, deeper still, it's not just about experiencing life. It's about truly connecting with others. And then we realize to connect deeply, we must first return and reconnect with ourselves. That is the heart of the next lesson, reconnecting with yourself and others. There's a haunting beauty in the line, two lost souls swimming in a fishbowl, from Pink Floyd's Wish You Were Here. It captures something so many of us feel but rarely speak about. The ache of being near someone yet feeling 1,000 miles away. Surrounded yet lonely. Present in body, absent in heart. In our fast-paced, hyper-connected world, it's easy to assume that proximity equals connection. But true connection isn't about sharing the same space. It's about sharing presence. It's about being seen, heard, felt. Not just physically, but emotionally, spiritually, soulfully. But here's the paradox. We often try to connect with others before we've truly come home to ourselves. When you're disconnected from your own breath, your own pain, your own truth, every interaction becomes shallow, even if it's frequent. You may smile, talk, nod, but the essence isn't there. Buddhism teaches that before we offer presence, we must first cultivate it within. That's why the journey back to connection starts with returning to ourselves. When you pause and breathe, when you sit quietly and truly feel, without distraction, without judgment, you begin to rebuild the bridge that leads back to your center. From that place, something shifts. Suddenly, you're not just reacting in conversations. You're listening. You're not just hearing. You're receiving. You're not just showing up. You're arriving fully. And the other person can feel it. They may not have the words for it, but they feel seen in a way they haven't in a long time. This kind of connection heals. It doesn't require solving problems or saying the right thing. It just asks that you be there, really there. No phone, no performance, no mental to-do list. Just your breath, your attention, your open heart. Presence is the most generous offering we have, and yet it costs nothing but your willingness to pause, to feel, to stay. So the next time you sit across from someone, whether it's a partner, a parent, a friend, or even a stranger, ask yourself gently, am I really here? Have I returned to myself first? Because the only path to real connection begins with true presence. But even as we learn to be present for others, there is still one more invitation, one that asks us to go deeper, beyond presence, into trust. Because true presence is not just being here, it is also being willing to let go of control. And that's where the journey continues. And then the next part leads us into a deeper lesson. Letting go of control and trusting the flow of life. Most of our suffering doesn't come from life itself, but from our resistance to how life unfolds. We spend so much energy trying to control people, timelines, outcomes, only to find ourselves anxious, disappointed, and exhausted. Letting go of control is not giving up. It's giving space. It's the first step toward mental freedom. When we loosen the grip on how things should be, we open ourselves to how things actually are. And from that clarity, we can respond with wisdom instead of struggle. In Buddhist teaching, control is a form of clinging, a subtle fear that life won't support us unless we manage every detail. But here's the truth. Real freedom comes not from getting life to obey your will, but from learning how to dance with its rhythm. To let go of control and trust life's flow doesn't mean becoming passive or careless. It means stepping into a wiser form of participation, one that listens, watches, and acts from presence, not panic. It's like being in a river. The more you resist the current, the more tired you become. But when you learn to float, to adjust with grace, you begin to see that the river isn't your enemy, it's your teacher. It carries you, not to where your ego demanded, but to where your soul is meant to grow. Some of the most profound chapters in our lives began with detours, endings, or disappointments. What seemed like failure at first was simply redirection, but we couldn't see it, not until we stopped insisting that life follow our map. When we release the obsession with control, something beautiful happens. The world starts revealing itself in unexpected ways. Insights come, support arrives, new paths open, not because we forced them, but because we finally made space for them. As Thich Nhat Hanh reminds us, letting go gives us freedom, and freedom is the only condition for happiness. So if you find yourself in a moment of uncertainty, ask gently, what if I stopped resisting? What might I see, feel, or learn if I simply let go? Just a little. In that quiet surrender, life begins to move again. Not against you, but with you. Presence is not a one-time achievement. It's a soft vow we make again and again. To return, to listen, to love. Through the rhythm of Wish You Were Here, we were reminded that even in a world full of noise, the deepest longing is to truly be seen and felt by another soul. The song is not just about missing someone, it's about a shared ache for real connection, a craving that exists not in distance, but in absence of presence. Maybe you've sat beside someone and felt alone. Or maybe you were the one absent, physically present, but mentally wandering. That's the hidden loneliness of modern life. And that's why we return, through breath, through silence, through the courage to just be here. Letting go of control isn't giving up. It's choosing to open, to stop tightening your grip on how things should be. Because when we let go, we stop resisting life. And when we stop resisting, we finally start living. It's not surrender to weakness. It's alignment with something wiser than our fears, the natural rhythm of reality. Every small moment we're present is an act of love. Every breath we take in awareness is a thread of reconnection. And sometimes the most healing thing we can offer is not advice, not solutions, but our full attention, our honest presence. If you've come this far, pause with me. Breathe. Ask yourself, who in your life needs to hear, I'm here? Not in words, but in presence? Maybe it's a loved one. Maybe it's you. Leave a comment below. Share one person or one moment you wish you had shown up for more fully, or one moment where someone else's presence changed you. Let this be a space of real connection. And if this message stirred something in you, hope, grief, clarity, don't keep it silent. Share this video with someone you care about. Let it be a bridge. Let it be your I see you. Because healing begins not with answers, but with attention. And the next video may not just be a teaching, it might be the doorway you didn't know you were ready to walk through.